Hey my good friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I'm going to say right up front, I've got a soft spot for bonkers powerful cars, and that's what this is. This is the 2023 Kia EV6 GT with 567 horsepower. That's bonkers. So we're going to show it to you inside and out. We're going to take it for a drive, and then I'm going to tell you what I really think. Okay, my friends, before we go out for a drive, let's talk about this because we have reviewed the Kia EV6 before and it scored very well on our test drive. And this, of course, is the GT, the more powerful 567 horsepower version, just like I said at the outset. As tested, this price is out at $62,000 and some change. We are on the high side of what you're going to be able to spend on the EV6. So getting right up front, this has the classic EV6 styling, the clamshell hood that wraps down over the fenders, all one piece, very bulbous looking. But this has a unique front fascia with the GT and gloss black trim and neon accents that you can see there through the wheels. These are 21-inch wheels on the GT, and they have to be big, not only because of the wide tires, the 255 section rubber, but because look at those brakes, 15-inch front disc brakes. That's why the wheels are big. They have to wrap around those brakes. At the rear, 14.2-inch discs. Looking around, black gloss trim down on the lower rockers, around the windows, up top, a large sunroof. From this angle, this is actually one of my favorite views of this car, the rear three-quarter view. I think it's pretty sexy and it's got a little bit more of an aggressive plant because of these larger tires and wheels, but I really do like this detailing here. A lot of people find that sort of a love-hate thing. I think it's very futuristic. You do have a little window here, but this roof spoiler is kind of a almost like a whale tail kind of design. It looks very mammal to me. I see that swimming through the water. But coming down, I love the way the tail lights and that rear trim all wrap around with the black chrome. And to me, that's just a nice tidy look. And the lower fascia also pretty sporting for this car. Now the charging port is right here at the back corner. And I will point out, not my favorite location for a charging port because it does force you to back the car into most public charging station parking spaces, or your garage if that's where your charger is. In my garage, I happen to have a long enough cable that I can pull it nose in and come all the way around. And I will point out, I have to use my own cable because the Kia does not come with one like most electric cars do. So come on, Kia, really? Give us a cable to plug this thing in. That said, you can see all of the metrics right here for the charging times. This has a large 77.4 kilowatt hour battery, big battery, size of a queen size mattress just about underneath the floor of the car. And so the charging times are pretty long unless you can get to a 350 kilowatt hour charger. And if you can do that, that's running full power, you can charge this thing to 80% in as little as 18 minutes. That's pretty good. So there we are for the walk around portion of our review of the EV6 GT. The interior of the EV6 GT is very much like the futuristic design we saw last time we tested the EV6, but in the EV6 GT, we've got unique finishes like across the dash. There is this nicely striped vinyl that looks very cool, very fashionable, and a GT logo, and a lot of lime accents. You can especially see that in these seats. This is what they call vegan suede, which means not leather. But these are some very nicely done sports seats, and they're aggressive sports seats. So if you're, say, over 200 pounds, which I'm getting close to right up to, you might sit in these before you buy this car because they are pretty tight and they hold you very well. Manual, no power adjustment, but they are heated. Very nice thing. Heated steering wheel here, also with the lime accents, and it's got the GT button right on there. And we'll be talking about that when we go for a drive here in just a moment. All the other switchgear on the steering wheel, very good, and paddle shifters, which are for the regenerative braking setting. Ahead of me is the big dual screen layout that Hyundai Kia has been putting forth lately, two 12.3-inch screens. The one ahead of me is the instrument cluster, and the look of that is changeable based on your drive modes. It's got a lot of great graphics on it. I really like this system. I've liked it in the other cars that I've tested. And over to the right, the infotainment system. Down on the center stack, this is something that's kind of controversial. This is a touch-sensitive menu screen here, and this changes up depending on what you press. It can be all controls for the HVAC, and you press this button and it becomes controls for the infotainment screen. And the knobs actually change purpose, and so that can be confusing sometimes if you've got it set on the wrong thing and you go to hit the volume and you're really changing the temperature. Once you get used to it, I think it's pretty cool. I actually like it. Center console, a very innovative sort of cantilevered design. It's got a big storage area down underneath. The start button is right there on it, and behind it the gear selector, and then it's got cup holders off on the side, and right here, place for your phone, wireless charger. I love this. I love being able to lay my phone right here and be able to glance at it and see what it's doing if I get a notification without having to dig it out of some hole that it might be stuck in. And a lot of ports here, a lot of storage in here. This is a nice big box. I would say 2 rectangular tissue boxes can fit in there, sitting vertically of course, but that's a nice big storage area for what really isn't an SUV, but this has the versatility that you might expect with an SUV. It's very light and airy in here in spite of being black, because this has a very large sunroof. Now this isn't a panoramic sunroof, but this does open, it tilts and it slides, and it's got a nice shade. Well done here. Sitting in the back seat, you're going to find that this has a very sporty feel, which means that even though this has sort of the silhouette of an SUV, this is like sitting in the back of a sedan, and that's because this floor is pretty high. There is a mattress-sized battery underneath this floor, though it is perfectly flat, as you can see. You can see that I'm sitting down in this seat. My knees are up a little bit, and that's because of all of that floor space being taken for the battery under there, but it's not uncomfortable. The seat is tilted in a way that doesn't feel like you're sitting flat and out of normal. And so there's a little bit of side bolstering. It's got a nice comfortable fabric, and there is back rake adjustment, so you can adjust the rake to get it where you want it. There are plenty of amenities back here. HVAC vents are actually on the side over here, not at the back of the console, which I actually kind of like. They're a little bit closer up and closer to your face than when they're down there. On the back of the console, 2 USB ports for charging, and this does have, of course, a fold-down armrest with cup holders. You'd expect that. The seat does fold down in a 60-40 split with a pull of a lever. Very easy to do from the back area, and a big cargo space, as you can see. And when they're up, even still, that cargo space isn't too bad. And underneath there, you can see that there is no spare tire here, but you do have a nice big storage area for the shade that goes over the cargo space. You can hide that away when you're not using it. This interior I just really like. I liked it in the last EV6 that I tested, and here with these sports seats and these very cool finishes, I'm in love. This interior gets 5 out of 5 stars. The infotainment system here is the Hyundai Kia sort of corporate 12.3-inch screen with all of the bells and whistles. It's got Meridian sound, which has a great sound. It's got 360-degree monitor, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's got SXM, it's got Bluetooth connectivity. It's got a multitude of ways to change the settings on this car and really dial this thing in to a place that you're happy with it. The graphics are good, the menus are good. I've really come to like this system in the automotive arena. It's just well done. You can actually navigate and do a lot of the functions while you're driving here. It's not that distracting. This system gets 5 out of 5 stars. All right, my friends, let's go for a drive. Now, I don't know if you can hear this, but the first thing I got to talk about is the sound that this has. This has this cute little feature, and you can set sounds on this because electric cars don't have sound. You can choose between different sounds and the level of their severity, and there's like a number of choices. They're kind of cute, and you can't really hear it now. I've got a lot of gravel on the road. It's been raining today. Makes for a fun test drive, but here we are. But yeah, so you can set sound. You can turn it off if you don't want any of that funny stuff, but there are a number of different sounds you can choose that rise and fall with your speed and your driving. It's kind of adorable, if I dare say it. So the first thing we want to talk about here is just the overall ride and driving experience. Cattle guard. I'm going to spoil it by saying this is one of the best handling and overall driving and living with how it rides and drives electric cars I've ever tested. And that's because it's got a number of features that make it good. First of all, it's got the eGMP chassis, which is phenomenal under almost any car I've tested from Hyundai or Kia, so that's a given. But this has electronically adjustable dampers, which are constantly adjusting the stiffness of the suspension, and that's a good thing because this has an 1,100-pound battery underneath the floor. And a lot of electric cars, they have to make the suspension so stiff that they bounce up and down like a lowered car on rubber bumpers, but that's not happening here. This has a solid, refined ride like some of the best cars I've ever driven, so that is great. McPherson front suspension, multi-link rear suspension. This has an electronically limited slip differential system for the rear, all-wheel drive, and it's just a very solid structure. This car feels like a Mercedes-Benz typically does in its solidity. And so I've got good steering feel, lots of grip from these tires, a nice firm ride that goes well with the level of power we've got here. So even though this thing weighs nearly 5,000 pounds, I can toss this thing into a corner with a level of confidence and ease. It actually feels good, oddly enough. A lot of heavy cars, you go, whoa, that's no fun. So it's got a nice quiet ride, even on this noisy pavement. Our 70-mile-an-hour test, 56.1 decibels. That is actually on the lower side of the scale, and that is pretty good. Part of it, no powertrain noise, but even with these big tires, very quiet. Another corner coming up here. Whew. God, that just feels good. And another cattle guard. So this is a chassis that is buttoned down. It feels solid around town, over speed bumps, speed humps, railroad tracks, things like that, cattle guards. They've done an excellent job here. One of the best electric cars I've driven in terms of ride and handling. This chassis gets 5 out of 5 stars. So most importantly, we've got to talk about what's under the hood. Well, look at it. Well, it's not a gasoline engine. Here we have an electric motor and all of its power control units under the hood of this. Electric motor at the rear also for all-wheel drive. Both motors together, 567 horsepower, 546 pound-feet of torque. That's a lot. That's a lot. Cattle guard. And so this has a number of drive modes. It's got sport, of course, and it's got GT mode, which allows you to really unleash all of the power, which is, well, that's what we're going to do, because if you watch my videos, you know the question I always like to ask is, how does it go? So we're out here in the middle of nowhere. I'm pressing that GT button. The dash lights up differently. Here we go. Woo! And 60. Holy crap. Woo! And 100. Whoa, those big brakes slow this thing down really good. Oh my God. Joy! That makes me happy. Double happy. Triple happy. Woo! Oh my God. That's 100 miles an hour again, like nothing. Let me slow down, slow down, slow down. Those big brakes really bringing this thing down. So this works, okay? It works. Pass. It passes the test. So yeah, that's a lot of power. It really just is. Now that GT mode doesn't last forever. That gives you unlimited, blow through the battery time up till a point where it stops you from having that. It does protect the battery, but this is a powertrain that is just mind-blowingly good. It is fast, it's refined, that power delivery is immediate. You notice there's no wheel spin back there, but if you want wheel spin, there is drift mode. Yes, drift mode allows you to just send the power to the rear wheels, have all of it, and just go crazy. Now, you're watching stock footage because I can't do that on public roads, but look at that. That's this car doing that with the press of a button. Yes, happy, double happy, triple happy. So yeah, this is a powertrain that's really good. Now range, the factory range is good. Well, not really, but this is a performance car. It's got performance car range. Cattle guard again. And so 77.4 kilowatt hour battery, 567 horsepower. You're gonna get just a little over 200 miles range with this thing. Whereas if you get the lower level Kias with less power, that's where your range is going to be. So I'm okay with the range here, and the power consumption here is a little bit higher than it is with some of the other electrics out there that are contemporary and popular. That's just the way it is, because you've got horsepower. If you had a comparably powered gasoline car, you're going to have range that's pretty similar. So look at it that way. If you're going, wow, 200 and something range, that's not very much. So this is all good for me. This is all good. This is a powertrain that is just great, and I can't wait to drive it in some of the other Kia and Hyundai vehicles coming down the pike. This powertrain gets 5 out of 5 stars, hands down. That's all there is to it, folks. Oh my gosh, it's raining on me again. I had a lot of fun on this test drive. Wow, joy, joy. Double happy I am after that. You hit the power pedal on this car, man, it will change your day. That's what it's for. That's why you buy a car like this. And so when we talk about value, $62,000 as tested, can't spend very much more on the EV6. You know, we're at the top of the market here, but think about if you're looking for a performance car that has this much power, this much performance potential, the handling and the fun to drive levels that this has. If you look at a gasoline powered vehicle, you're gonna pay this much, if not more. If you get a Cadillac V, if you get, you know, BMW, Audi, whatever it is, maybe even a Dodge with a, you know, supercharged V8, you're spending this much money or better easily. So I find this quite the bargain, if I'm honest. And when we did the EV6 last time, lower trim grade, it got 5 stars for value, and so does this. It's got the warranty, the quality, the features, 5 years, 60,000 miles, bumper to bumper, 10 years, 100,000 mile powertrain. With this much power, you don't find that very often out here in the market. So that's all very good. 5 out of 5 stars for value, duh. When you put that in with everything we've already talked about, we're at 5 stars for the review, a perfect score. Very rare coming from me. I am a picky bitch when it comes to cars. I will always find something to nitpick, but here, very little. And also, it goes on my buy it list. That really says a lot. I would buy this car, yes. And honestly, I'm planning on buying an electric car sometime in the next year or so, hopefully. And this is really top of list right now. This is a car that I might just buy because, wow, it's got all of the stuff that you'd want, maybe except for range, but if you get a muscle car, gas powered car, it doesn't have range either. So I'm happy with that. I'm good. It's a trade-off. So there, yeah, I'd buy it. Totally. Might wait for MSRP to be what you get to pay, you know, when the market settles a little bit, because right now, if you're buying one of this, you're probably paying over MSRP and you're waiting for it after you've ordered it. But things always change. These things pass. Anyway, if you like what we do, see our latest video right there, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel right down there. Either way, stay tuned.